Today is Tuesday, May 5th, 2020. We're in the middle of the period of the calendar counting the Omer. Today is the 26th day of the Omer, which means we're just at the halfway mark, just past the halfway mark from Pesach till Shavuos. And this mitzvah to count the Omer is in this week's Parsha, Parshas Emor. So the Torah says, "Usfartim lochem b'machas haShabbos," and you shall count for yourselves from the day after. It says Shabbos, but it means the first day of Pesach. So the day after the first day of Pesach is the second day of Pesach. And so you should count from then. Ad b'machas haShabbos hashvius tishbu chayishim yom. Then you have to count 50 days. You count 49 days, and the 50th day is Shavuos. So there's a mitzvah to count. And every night, we have a mitzvah when it gets dark, after Mariv, we make a bracha because we're commanded to count the Omer. And then we say, tonight is the 26th night of the Omer, which is 3 weeks and 5 days of the Omer. It's an interesting phenomenon that usually when there is a mitzvah that comes on an annual basis or at irregular times, when we do the mitzvah, we make the bracha shehachiyanu. Thank you, Hashem, for keeping us alive to being able to fulfill this mitzvah this year. On the first night of Pesach, we make Kiddush. It's the first time we've been able to celebrate Pesach for an entire year since the year before. And we say shehachiyanu. When we read the Megillah on Purim, it's the first time we've fulfilled this mitzvah since the year before. We make the bracha shehachiyanu. Why don't we make the bracha shehachiyanu when we count the Omer? So there are a couple of different reasons that are given for this. One is as follows. One answer is that really our counting the Omer today is not the actual counting of the Omer. Really what the Torah requires is something that happens in the Beis HaMikdash. When the Beis HaMikdash is standing, so there was an offering that was brought on the second day of Pesach, and then there was an offering that was brought on Shavuos, and the counting was to connect those two offerings. So our counting of the Omer today is only Zecher LeMikdash. It's only a memory of what would happen and what will happen when the Beis HaMikdash is standing. But it reminds us of the fact that the Beis HaMikdash is not standing to our sadness. And therefore, there is a less than happy element to this mitzvah. And we don't make the bracha shehachiyanu when we fast on Tisha B'Av. So therefore, we don't make the bracha shehachiyanu because it's a mitzvah that reminds us of what we are lacking. That's one approach. Another approach goes like this. The original mitzvah of counting the Omer was given by God to the Jewish people as they left Egypt. And the message of counting the Omer is, we're leaving Egypt, we're going to Sinai. God says, I'm going to reveal myself to you and give you the Torah, the Aseres HaDibros. There will be this connection between us that has never existed and never will exist after. And you should look forward to it. And you should be longing for it. And it's something that is going to be a highlight not only of your life, but of all human history. And therefore, you should count the days in your excitement to being able to reach this goal. But every day counting, it was counting out of longing, counting out of waiting to get to a goal to which we had not yet arrived. And that too makes it a mitzvah that is not appropriate to say shehachiyanu. Shehachiyanu says, I've arrived. It's Pesach. I can do it now. I've arrived. It's Purim. I can do it now. But Sfiras HaOmer is all about looking forward to something that's going to happen in the future. Sfiras HaOmer is about longing. It's about reaching a goal. It is clear that the Jewish people suffered trauma in Egypt. Number one, what happened to them over years and years and years. And number two, what they witnessed firsthand happening to the Egyptians. That causes trauma. today, as we learn so much more about the effects that trauma has, what it does to a person, it is clear to see that the Jewish people leaving Egypt are a people that are suffering from past trauma. And one truth about that is that the effect of trauma does not end when the crisis ends. The effects remain. And this is a subject for another time. But the entire 40 years in the desert can be analyzed to understand how what the Jewish people did was in fact a reaction to the trauma that they had experienced in Egypt. The complaining over water, over food, being frightened when Moshe is gone. All of these incidents, the Meraglim, the spies, all of these instances are indications of the effects of trauma. And therefore, when the Jewish people are leaving Egypt, Hashem gives them a mitzvah to help them. Because one of the other truths that we have learned in dealing with trauma and its aftermaths is one of the most important things that you need to do is to give such a person a sense of hopefulness, a sense of looking forward to something. And so Hashem says to the Jewish people, you suffered a trauma. You're leaving now. I want your orientation now to be towards the future. I want you to think about where you are going and why you're going there. And I want you to imagine in your mind, and I want you to count the days so that you are looking forward to it. And every day as you count, think to yourself, I'm now one day closer to this amazing scene where we're going to arrive at Mount Sinai. We're going to be gathered together. Hashem is going to speak to us, which he has never done and never did after. We're going to receive the Torah. That is something magnificent and overwhelming in its hopefulness to be able to look forward to. And Hashem gives this mitzvah of Sfiras Omer to this people in order to develop this sense of hopefulness within them. This year, the mitzvah of counting the Omer should resonate for us like in no other year, because the process and the purpose is precisely the same. I can't tell you the number of days before businesses will open, before we will return for Minyan, before we will start to ease some of the things that we're going through. I wish I could tell you a number of days, but I can tell you that we are working on planning for that day. May it come soon, maybe a matter of weeks. We're planning for it. And we need to look forward to that. And we need to take the lesson of Sfiras Omer, and we need to be thinking to ourselves, what are we looking forward to? You know, as someone mentioned earlier, to be able to hug a grandchild. But we need to think about that and focus on that and have that as something, as a goal that we're working towards. And that is what gives us the energy, having that hopefulness in mind, having that vision of what we're working towards in mind. That's what helps us to give us the strength to be able to stay home, to be able not to do things that we want to do, to be able to forego certain things that we used to take for granted. But that all comes from a sense of hopefulness. To be able to look forward to davening together with a minyan, to be able to look forward to all of us going back to work if that's what we're doing, to be able to look forward to going out and not having to worry about somebody giving us or giving to someone a handshake. We should think about those goals. They should give us a sense of hopefulness of what the future will look like. And that is going to help us get through this period, just as the mitzvah of counting the Omer helped the Jewish people get through the experience of leaving Egypt and arriving at Sinai. My friends, I wish you all a wonderful day.